Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is all about teaching relationships for K to 3. But before that, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button for more updates. Also, you will find different subjects in this YouTube channel. Just select the playlist section. And now let's proceed to our topic for today, which is all about teaching relationships for kindergarten to grade 3. What are the characteristics of students in kindergarten and grade 1? They see relationship between two numbers, example that 7 is 2 more than 5, 1 less than 8, or 3 away from 10. Consolidate their understanding of part-part full relationships, recognizing that numbers can be separated into component parts. Example, 5 is 1 plus 4 or 2 plus 3 and so on. Develop an understanding of the relationships between numerals and the groupings on or bundling of the objects into tens and ones. Recognize some of the relationships that are inherent in the number lines and the hundred charts. For example, counting by twos involves skipping every second number, and such an action produces a consistent patterns along the number line and down the hundreds charts. Students see other patterns in the hundred charts, example, odd and even numbers, counting by fives and tens. See the relationship between whole and halves. A whole can be partitioned into two equal parts, and each part is one half, as they grow to understand part-part whole relationships and begin to use their understanding of the relationships between numbers as strategies for the basic facts. For example, knowing the doubles. Example, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3 makes learning the doubles plus 1 easier. Like example, 2 plus 3 is double 2 plus 1 more. Now, what will be the different instruction that we can use in teaching kindergarten and grade 1 in terms of relationships? Providing multiple experiences of composing and decomposing amounts. For example, decompose the teen and decade number into their many parts and look at the relationships of those parts. Example, 20 is 10 more than 10 and 10 less than 30. Providing many opportunities to use 5 frames, 10 frames, Breckenrex, 100 charts or carpets, number lines, and simple place value charts to build up an understanding of relationships between numbers. Building 100 charts for the purpose of exploring the patterns of numbers and their relationships. Students can work together in groups or can work individually to build a chart. Now, what will be the characteristics of a grade 2 students as they enter the grade 2 level? First, build on their ability to represent, compare, and order numbers using concrete materials to develop an understanding of larger numbers. For example, bundling tens and single units to understand two-digit numbers leads into building hundreds, tens, and single units. This representation helps students to understand three-digit number and recognize the magnitude of the digits in the ones, tens, and hundreds positions. They compose larger numbers to get a sense of the relationships of a number to another single digit and to the decades. Example, in adding 29 and 31, they may decompose 29 into 20 and 9, and added 9 to 31 to get 40, and then add the 20 to the total of 60. Develop a sense of relationships between their operations, recognizing the addition in the inverse of subtraction. Continue to use their understanding of relationship between numbers to learn the basic and multi-digit facts of addition and subtraction. For example, they may use the strategy of making tens to help with adding an 18 and 16. 6. They can add 18 to 2 of the 6 to make 20, and then add on the remaining 4. They can also use strategies such as compensation, which involves a good understanding of the proportional relationship between sets of numbers. For example, knowing that the distance on the number line between 22 and 68 is the same as that between 20, which is 22 less 2, and 66, which is 68 less 2, allows them to turn a harder question into the easier one, especially when they are making the computation mentally. Make comparisons between numbers and note from the larger digit in the tens place that a number like 92 is significantly larger than 29. This conceptual understanding helps them begin to see relationships between larger numbers, between common fractions, and between the operations, adding or addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, what will be the different instructional strategies that we can use in order to teach grade 2 students in terms of relationship? Number 1, providing experiences of composing and decomposing larger numbers, especially numbers with the tens and or 100 digits. Example, 56 can be understood as 5 tens and 6 ones, as tens or 4 tens and 16 ones. Providing experiences with bundling or grouping object with fives, example, in tallies, and into tens, example, bundles of 10 craft sticks, to help students recognize the relationships between numbers and especially in understanding place value. Providing many opportunities to use 10 frames, 100 charts or carpets, number lines, arrays, rec and recs, and place value charts to build up an understanding of relationship between numbers. Working with 100 charts to explore patterns in number. For example, adding by tens on the 100 charts involve movements from one number to one another or to one immediately below it. Adding by nines involving movement from one number to the number immediately below and to the left of it. Adding by 11s involves movement from one number to the number immediately below and to the right of it. And finally, what are the characteristics of a grade 3 pupils in terms of relationships? They extend their understanding of the base 10 number system to identify relationships throughout the number systems, from the decades of the 100s to the 1000s. This understanding of the relationships in numbers is still dependent upon concrete representation, especially for an understanding of place value. Develop a sense of the relationships between the operations, recognizing that addition is the inverse of subtraction, multiplication is the inverse of division, and so on. Use more abstract constructs. For example, a mental image of the 100 charts or a number line to help determine the relationship between such numbers as 51, 61, and 71. Use manipulatives to develop their understanding of four-digit number and common fractions. Develop a sense of relationship between the operations, recognizing that addition is the inverse of the subtraction, multiplication is the inverse of division, multiplication can be viewed as repeated addition, and division can be viewed as repeated subtraction. Continue to use their understanding of relationship between numbers to learn the basic and multi-digit facts of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. For example, they may use their knowledge of the 5 times table to calculate the 6 times table, or their knowledge of the 2 times table to learn the 4 times table. Now, what are the different instructional strategies that we can use in teaching grade 3? Providing experiences of composing and decomposing larger numbers, especially numbers with a tens or 100 digits. Example, 456 can be understood as 4 hundreds, 5 tens, and 6 ones, or 3 hundreds, 15 tens, and 6 ones, etc. Providing experiences with building or grouping objects into 5. Example in tallies. And into tens. Example, bundles of 10 craft sticks. To help students recognize the relationship between numbers, especially in understanding place value. Using 10 frames, 100 charts, number lines, arrays, rec and recs, and place value charts to build up an understanding of relationship between numbers. Working with 100 charts to explore patterns in numbers. Example, adding by tens on the 100 charts involves movement from one number to one immediately below it. Adding by nines involves movement from one number to the number immediately below and to the left of it, encouraging students to use an invisible or internal number line or similar mental image to help in developing more complex strategies for solving problems involving an understanding of the relationships between numbers. For example, in adding 50 and 22, they can move along a blank line, which represents the number line, to the decades from 50 to 50 to 70, and then make two more single moves to come to 72. And that's all about the lesson 12 part 2, which is all about the teaching relationship for kindergarten to grade 3 pupils. With that, thank you very much for listening and good day.